Hey, good evening, everybody, and good evening, Pamela Roth, the funniest
Good
lady in
evening.
New York City, or
Good
in the
evening,
world.
Vinny.
In the world, we need more people to make us laugh. Okay, and
Well,
Pam is
that's what
one of
I'm
those.
here for.
Matter of fact, Pam is going to be on May 11th. She will not be with us here. Neither will I, because we're both going on vacation. But she will be performing at Il Molino Restaurant. We're going to put up the flyer a little later, and I'm really excited. I'm going to try to be there. And we have a good guest tonight, Chief Charles. Um, we're going to have some good stuff tonight. I don't know. I'm in a very good mood tonight. I don't know. Are you in a good mood, Pam?
I'm in a great mood. I had a great day today. I actually did an inquest today up in court, up in Yonkers, and won. My
Good.
client was very happy. I'm happy too because I got paid. And
Except
so,
for the weather, I had a good day today, running around New York City picking up money for clients, which is always good. I want to start off the show with one of our sponsors, Patsy. Matter of fact, you can see I got one of his shirts on. I don't know if you can see my shirt.
can't see your shirt. Stand
Uh,
up.
I asked him today. I said, "Yeah, what is your signature dish?" Now, I've had this there. This is unbelievable. It's an egg roll with Philly cheesesteak in it. Yeah, and their baked penny alla vodka is unbelievable. Excellent restaurant. And Pam gets I like doing it because Pam gets hungry when she gets a little crazy.
Because Pam does not get to eat before coming onto the show. So I'm running
Yeah, but
from
we
wherever
can't
I
have
am.
unless we do a podcast in the restaurant. We can't be eating on the show.
No, I know. I tried
By
to
the way,
multitask.
before you came on months ago, I did one in a restaurant in New Rochelle, and it was a disaster because the people did not have the computer set up as I asked them to, and I asked them 5 times, and they forgot 5 times. So I had to do it with the phone, which kind of wasn't that good. But uh, we're gonna do a good one tonight. We're talking about how crime is destroying America.
Yes, it is.
From a positive note, we're going to a negative note. Pam, what do you have to say about that?
Well, you know something, it's not just New York. Unfortunately, it is affecting every single state. I just returned from California a couple days ago. So I was out in Los Angeles, the whole West Coast area, with friends and family. And, crime is rampant. In fact, just a couple of days ago, and I'm glad I'm back in New York, and my heartfelt condolences go out to the victims and the injured and the families as well, because there was just a terrible mass shooting that took place in Sacramento, which, as you know, is the capital of California. And it happened a couple of days ago, um, middle of the day. And they caught, I believe it was two brothers, if I'm not mistaken. And it was in the middle of the day. So, something, it's not just New York. It's not just the tri-state area. It's not just the East Coast. It's affecting every single state. Crime is on the rise. And of course, we've covered this on other shows that we've been in. Homelessness is on the rise, and crime is on the rise.
We're going to ask our guest, who's a former chief of the police department, the deputy chief in charge of Brooklyn South, which you live there. Don't you live in Brooklyn South? Pam?
I can't really disclose where I currently reside because I'm in the lawyer protection program. So I don't want anyone to know where I live. I do live in New York, and I do live between Long Island and in Brooklyn. But I used to be in the DA's office.
All right.
In Brooklyn. I used to be in Brooklyn DA's office.
Here's my spin on it, and you might not like what I'm going to say, but I'm going to say it anyway. This bail reform was originally promulgated to help minority people. It said that minorities are being racially profiled. They don't have money to pay for the bail, et cetera, et cetera. So we're going to reduce the bail requirements and actually have very little or no bail at all, unless it's a very serious, like a murder or something. So what has happened is, and again, I don't want to, that people might say I'm racist, but I'm not. I'm being honest. It was to help the black people. That basically 85% of the people in jail are black. Okay. But the black on black.
Okay, Vinny, without singling out whether it was black or Latino, it was to help the minorities who were
Okay, but they are
languishing in the
okay, but they
minorities, okay, who were languishing in jail because they could not afford the bail. And the problem is, and we've covered this in the past on prior shows that we've done, the pendulum swung way too far to the other side. I'm a former prosecutor in Brooklyn. I'm a criminal defense attorney in the state of New York. Okay, so there had to be bail reform, but it went too far to the other side. When you now have people who are getting arrested and you're tying the hands of the judges and of the prosecutors, and people who are being arrested for serious crimes and assaults and rapes are going through the jail system with a desk appearance ticket, or they're going through the jail system and within 24 to 48 hours they are being released without bail because the judges are not allowed to look back from even the day before if this person was arrested. Okay, there lies the problem. Because back in the day, and our guest, Chief Scholl will tell you as well, and you know too, back in the day, the judges would look at a rap sheet. The prosecutors would look at a rap sheet and make the recommendation either for a high bail or for a remand. Okay, nowadays, without having to look back at what this person did, even from the day before, to see if they were just in jail and right out again, you're allowing them to go in and out, and it's making a mockery of the criminal justice system, and it's making victims of crime afraid to come forward and even report crimes because the feeling is, what is the point? This person is going to be out again. When you have people going into stores and shoplifting brazenly right in front of store security and helping themselves, they're not even shopping, they're shoplifting and helping themselves to huge amounts of goods and property and looting and robbing, and nothing is happening to them. And then the attitude from the general public is, well, the stores have insurance for this. That's not the attitude. Okay, because none of us were brought up and raised that if you don't have the money, just go out and rob and shoot and loot. If you don't have the money, find a job, get a job, and go and work and go buy whatever it is that you need. Not going out and running and tearing down the city and robbing and graffiti all over the place. And then as soon as everybody's all locked up, the DA is declining prosecution, and they're out again. So if you don't have a serious punishment for the crimes that are being committed, no one's taking into consideration, into mockery about having police make any arrests. And then the police don't want to make any arrests because what's the point? They're going to be in and out and back on the street again.
Okay, but here's the point I'm trying to make. If you have a car that keeps breaking down because you don't put the right gas in there, after a while you say, well, maybe I should put different gas in the car, or maybe I should use different fuel. You have the same people over and over again committing crime. They're not afraid of the system. They're not afraid of, they just keep doing it. And these people that are getting caught, that do get caught, you read in the paper, oh, he had 36 prior arrests and 37 this and 52.
Well, they just got arrested yesterday, or 6 times in 1 week.
They're people and doing it again. When is this? How is this going to stop? This bail reform is not helping these people. It just encourages more crime.
It has to be modified.
It has to be.
And more arrests have to be made.
They don't want to do it.
And right now,
they don't want to do it.
But it's not. Well, they have to do it because look what's happening. You have more and more people moving out of the cities. You go into Lower Manhattan right now. You go into Lower Manhattan. You go anywhere in the city. You go down, drive through the financial district, and you will see how many stores and restaurants are out of business. Okay? Yeah. It's a ghost town. And when they say it's going to come back, a lot of places are not going to come back. Because why open up a business again if you feel that people are going to come in robbing and looting and doing the smash and grab of your jewelry counters, of these high-end stores? They're not going to want to come back. And then what happens is they have to pay higher insurance, and again, it's going to be passed off to the consumer.
Now, not only that, but these businesses that go out of business because of the crime and because of the robbery, hey, thanks for tuning in. What are they doing? They're destroying the tax base. Because if a company goes out of business, they're not paying taxes. They're not paying sales tax. They're not collecting sales tax. They're not paying their legal taxes for the business. And that's less money that the city has to spend on other things, whatever education or public health, whatever the case may be. So it's a never-ending negativity. It's just being negative. And look how many people are moving out of New York City and moving out of California because of the crime. They're going to the other states that have less crime, that have, I don't want to say get political, but they have.
I can't say other states have less crime. The only thing is we don't hear about it. Okay, you're not going to hear right now what's going on in Topeka, Kansas, unless the town is being burnt down because somebody was, choked to death by a police officer. That's the only time you're going to hear about any of these other counties and cities in Middle America. You're not hearing about it on a daily basis because it's not interesting to us. We have enough to hear about on our side. The only time you really hear about any of these other states is when there's a mass shooting in a mall or a movie theater or in a school. That's really the only time you're going to hear what happens. And you're like, oh my God, it's happening there too. It's happening in every state across the country.
It is, but some states there's more. You have Portland, Oregon. You got Seattle, Washington. You got Chicago. You got New York. The crime is so rampant. The amounts of homicides are so outrageous that it's in the newspaper. So okay,
but here's the thing. But Vinny,
they might have 2 murders a whole year. They're not going to hear about it.
Okay, but Vinny, if you pick some rural town, if you pick Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, compared to Brooklyn, New York, okay, there are more people in Brooklyn, New York than there are in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, or Amish country in Pennsylvania. So you can't say, well, crime is worse in New York than it is in Brooklyn than it is in some little cow pasture town in the middle of Pennsylvania, because you don't have the same amount of people there.
Right.
You're talking about something. You're talking about a city compared to something rural. So to be fair and to present it correctly to everyone, you'd have to take a city like, say, for instance, Chicago or Los Angeles and compare it to New York City. You can't take some little farm country, little farmhouse area and compare it to Queens, Brooklyn, Staten Island, New York, Los Angeles.
I'm not comparing. Obviously, it's apples and oranges. I'll give you an example. A few years ago, Little Rock, Arkansas. Little Rock, which is a small city. I think I don't think about a couple 100,000 people. They had the highest per capita murder per 10,000 people. They had like maybe 100, whatever it was. I don't have the exact amount, but whatever the murders they had in that year was higher than New York, Chicago, LA at that particular time because of the density of the population at that time. That was per capita. But what we have here is just people don't care. And what's happening?
But people are not caring elsewhere too, and you have to look into
the areas that have the most crime are more densely populated, but also they have district attorneys that don't prosecute. They plead down cases from a felony to a misdemeanor.
We've always done that. I was a prosecutor, and I put cases down from a felony to a misdemeanor. But you're also misrepresenting that, and this is why I'm saying this. I was a prosecutor from 91 to 93 under Charles Hines.
Yeah, but that was a different time than now.
So
you didn't have the wokeness that you have nowadays.
No, you won't. We still had crime, and we had rampant crime back then. We had a garbage strike. We did. We had guns. We had drugs. And we, as a prosecutor, if I had somebody who came before me, first time offense and it's a felony, and he's got a clean record, depending on what the felony was for, I'm going to plead it down and give them and go from like say maybe
that was you years ago
felony down to a misdemeanor.
You can't compare what you did to the ones that the district attorneys nowadays. They're letting it. They're not even. Look at Alvin Bragg from New York City. He actually sent a memo out telling his assistant prosecutors not to prosecute certain crimes. Okay,
I
I
know.
mean,
We spoke about Bragg being very progressive and being totally anti and against the policies that Mayor Adams is coming in with, and they're all supposed to be on the same page. We had discussed this. The other DAs in the other counties are not happy with Alvin Bragg. He's coming in right now. He's basically giving the keys to the city and to the jail cells to all of the felons.
look at
So
the district attorney in L.A. Goshen, he's terrible. That's why crime is rampant, because the people are not afraid of. They're not afraid of being caught. Matter of fact, one cop was interviewed, and he wouldn't use his name. He said that these young guys, these gangs, they're more afraid of getting shot by another gang than being arrested. That's why they have. That's why the crime is out of control. Now we're going to have our guest, and we're going to ask him questions and ask him what he thinks and what he could maybe give us an idea of how he thinks some of this could be minimized. I like to use that word, minimized. Yeah.
let's have martial law. Let's have a curfew on the streets after 10 o'clock at night, and see how that changes everything. And everyone's going to get their balls twisted if we turn around
Well,
and say
didn't we have
something
that
like
with the pandemic? You couldn't go out after 10 o'clock at night.
I know
Yeah.
we did.
Anthony.
It was very odd.
Okay.
Let's thank our sponsors. Okay, I'm taking this one. We want to thank our sponsor, Mark Turner Insurance, for your Medicare and Medicaid Resource Center. You can reach Mark Turner Insurance at 36 Richmond Terrace, Suite 114, Staten Island, New York. Tune in to our page for the rest of the information, and we want to thank Mark Turner Insurance for being one of our sponsors. Next. We got Cash for Cars. We make it so easy on Staten Island. Fast money, easy money, Cash for Cars. We buy all cars and trucks of any condition. Call 917-238-1640 or www.cashforautosny.com. Please join Law and Disorder, our podcast for Vinny and I, and become a sponsor, and we will advertise your company, your business. There is no business too big or too small, and we will advertise for you on Law and Disorder. Thank you to Artuso Pastries since 1946, providing delicious pastries and cannoli, so I hear, at 670 East 182nd Street, Bronx, New York. I'm still waiting for Artuso to send me like a 18-wheeler truckload of cannoli.
Okay, our next sponsor is Borgatti's raviolis. They're fresh, but they also have frozen ravioli. Next time I go there, I'm going to get a box of Borgatti's ravioli and bring them to you, hand them to you, frozen, so you could thaw them out and make it. And I'll even make the sauce for you. How's that? I make a
the sauce for me. We're in together.
Oh, yeah. I make a porcini sauce. Matter of fact, Chris Borgatti told me how to make it. And you get different mushrooms. You saute it in butter, and you put some cream in there. And a few other little goodies, and you put that over the raviolis, and we're going to gain weight just talking about it. Okay, let's bring our guest over. We got all the commercials out of the wall. Let's bring Charles M.Scholl.
Hello, Vinny. Thank you. Hello, Pam.
Hi, good evening.
It's good to be on your show.
Did you guys ever work together or against each other in court? Was she the prosecutor?
As a prosecutor, why would I be against?
I was on from '79 till last year, but I never had the pleasure of working with or the challenge of working against Pam.
Thank you.
But you hit the nail on the head, Pam. All the things you said about bail reform, it did swing the other way, and I really feel bad for the DAs because they're up against the political wave now. And the judges don't have a say. And I know judges are heartbroken with some of these things.
Yes.
You'll have a guy with 40, 50, triple-digit arrests, like Pam was saying, but they don't look at the rap sheets anymore. And the purpose of bail wasn't really to look at that. It was to make sure that they came in for their next court appearance. But the judges used to, look at that sheet. And if a guy's a menace to society or he's going to be a future danger, it was incumbent on the criminal justice system to keep him on ice till he had his fair day in court. But right now, it's when you see tragedies like a 12-year-old boy being shot and killed, eaten with his aunt, or a 60-year-old woman coming from a store getting shot and killed, the public's just going to say, I had enough. And we're going to see it. I think the family members are going to take things into their own hands, and you're going to see vigilantism, and it's going to happen.
Well, this is what a lot of people don't understand. And Chuck, I just want to explain to a lot of people who we have a lot of people who watch and who listen who are not, legal eagle minds or law enforcement. And so a lot of times people are arguing like, I don't understand why there's no bail. Okay, the whole purpose of bail, and I want to explain this, the whole purpose of bail is to ensure that the person is going to be in court on the next date. It's not supposed to be punitive. And too many times the bail was set way too high above a person's means of having to pay the bail. And of course, if a person has a bench warrant history, and a bench warrant means just that, the person did not appear in court either one or more times. So there is a risk there that this person is not going to appear in court on the following date. So again, the DA, the prosecutor is going to ask for bail. The judge is going to ask for bail. The judge can always ask for higher bail than what the DA asked for. Or, as a defense attorney now, I would make an argument that, the bail should be reduced. But it was always up to the judge. And now if you have a situation because of the bail reform, because the judge's hands are tied, cannot see if this person is, as you said, a menace to society or dangerous, the judge is letting them out without any bail or with a minimal amount of bail.
Well, even a minimal amount, Pam, some of them aren't going to make it anyway. Right. But like you said, it's not to be punitive, but I think as a society, we have to, if we don't look at the person's past criminal record, I think we're putting ourselves in harm's way. Because they're coming in and out. The DAs don't want to even prosecute a lot of these cases for small crimes. And the guy says, I'll take a shot, petty larceny. He'll go into a CVS and walk out with 50 pints of Haagen-Dazs. I mean, well, you're standing online and you're paying $6 for 1 pint. And you say, what's up? And the security guards are told in some of the establishments, don't get involved. The stores are worried about civil liability.
They have a security guard there.
Because they're not armed. The security guards are not armed. It happened right in front of me. I was walking online. I was waiting online in a
shoplifter isn't armed either. The shoplifters aren't armed. Most of them aren't armed. I mean,
some of the stores, everything is chained up now. You see it. If you need a pack of razor blades, you got to get a store manager.
Many years ago, I was a manager in Alexander's department store. I don't know if you remember them, in the Bronx. We had the highest amount of thefts in the country and the highest amount of arrests in that store. Unbelievable. We had a tremendous staff in there. And, but now you could just walk in a store, as long as it's in California under $999, you can steal whatever you want. They're not going to prosecute.
Well, some of the stores can absorb that loss. Other ones are closing up, Vinny.
Yeah.
They just can't afford it.
No, they can't. I mean, how many CVS's closed in Baltimore after the Freddie Gray riots? How many CVS drugs pharmacies closed in San Francisco or in LA because they just can't afford for the theft? They just can't afford it.
Well, listen, I think under the current administration, I think Mayor Adams has got all the right ideas.
Yeah.
He's got a tremendous staff with him. The police department, I'm retired now, so my opinion's my opinion, but they really are the best. I did almost 42 years, and the talent level has never been higher. So Commissioner Sewell has a great entourage with her. She knows what she has to do. So I think it's up to the people. If they're not happy with certain elected officials, even with the city council, they're going to have to come out and just express it at the ballot box.
Yeah, I agree with you. Now, what do you think of him hiring a police commissioner from out of the city, from Nassau County? My gut feeling is that he didn't want to bring anybody on up from the ranks, and he wanted to bring somebody from outside. And I don't know. I hope she does a good job. I have a feeling she's going to be good.
Yeah.
But what's your opinion?
The interview process was intense. He did go nationwide with his search, and I'm always partisan to promote from within. But by all accounts and everybody I've spoken to, she's top notch, and his choice is correct. And every encounter I've had with her, just speaking and seeing her in action, I think she's going to do great.
Great. I hope so. Now a lot of people voted for Adams because he was an ex-cop and a captain. He was a boss, and they feel that he's going to do a better job. But the problem I think he has is the state senate, which he was a part of, and the Albany. They want this bail reform, and I don't know if they're going to budge. And the governor, who was at the dinner with us, on Zoom, I don't think she's going to do anything either. What do you think, Chuck?
Politics is a funny business.
Yeah.
The mayor could want certain things enacted, but if the state legislature doesn't agree, his hands are tied. So, like I said, the only way that changes if the people go out and express themselves. But I don't know how much more they're going to tolerate. The NYPD is very transparent. You can go online and get the current statistics of where we are as a city. Crime is up, but there's a lot of variables. And even going back to the bail reform, with COVID, the courts were closed, so they were extremely backlogged with cases, and people that should be incarcerated. Unfortunately, the cases were either dropped, they didn't get a speedy trial, or they weren't prosecuted to begin with. So you got bad people out there. And other laws were changed, and they don't talk about it. We're getting a lot of stabbings. We have homicides, people with their throats cut. They pulled away possession of a knife law. No one talks about that. We used to be able to stop somebody. You knew he had a knife. It was over 4 inches. He was fair game. Now, that's one thing they don't do it. And today's commercials, they're talking about cannabis law. They're telling people, how to, where to smoke pot. When that's all comes to fruition, I don't know what's going to walk up and down the streets. You get a package delivered, it smells like, it's the 70s. It's like Cheech and Chong.
Yeah.
But we'll see. But like I said, I think New York City, I know Pam was talking about the rest of the country, the tragedy with the mass shooting. There's a few arrests on that, but it's in some places it's like the Wild West. And, we have to do more to try to get the guns off the streets. But you see it there. A lot of the cities are going around. They don't want no-knock search warrants. So they're tying their hands of the police more and more. And, guns kill people. That's the bottom line.
Well, knives and hammers kill people too.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, and so does a screwdriver and a fork, but you're not going to turn around and take everything away from everybody. But going back to when I was in the DA's office, you had the crimes such as the sex crimes. Prostitution was a crime. They used to do what they called the pros sweeps. You must be familiar with that, Chuck.
Yeah,
when they had the paddy wagons going out, right? The pros sweeps. Then also you had stop and frisk. You didn't have marijuana being smoked openly in the streets. Everyone considers marijuana to be so innocent. I'm sorry, I don't think so, because something, if you're stopping somebody who's smoking weed, more than likely the person has a warrant, and even more so, they may even have a weapon on them. So I mean, I'm just one of those who's anti-weed and never should have been legalized.
Well, I think what the mayor was talking about last week is the broken windows theory. That was under previous administrations. We went away from that. But I think the public has to realize that is a true sentiment. You don't want someone urinating on your stoop. You don't want people blasting radios at 2 or 3 in the morning, drinking beer on the corner where kids are going to school. So, not to say the law is the law, but society, we have to respect some of the rules. And if you keep
Right,
going
but
away
those,
from
right,
it,
but
it's going to get worse and
right.
worse.
Chuck, those were all considered quality of life crimes when I was
Right.
in the DA's office, and you were able to get stopped for it. If you weren't arrested for it, at least you ended up getting a desk appearance ticket. But nowadays, you walk through the streets, even between average people and in homeless, people are urinating and defecating on the streets, and that's only right now. It's only going to get worse in the summertime when it's an absolute free for all. It's you walk in the streets between urine, people defecating, people are drinking out in public, people are smoking weed out in public. You walk down the street, it's just, to me, personally, it's disgusting.
Well,
And
today,
then you try and want to have tourism increase in New York. You come to see all of this. It's just nasty.
there was 7 arrests. They try to remove homeless encampment. The people were warned yesterday. They had to relocate. 7 people arrested. 1 homeless person. The other 6 were protesters trying to defend the rights of the person from sleeping on the street. And Mayor Adams said it. It's not humane to sleep on the street. Is it his prerogative? Yeah, but he shouldn't be sleeping on your property in front of your store. Or your
That's what I'm
children,
saying.
you'll go to a Broadway show, you shouldn't have to walk around somebody with your family to get to the theater. It's just it's not the way things are meant to be.
So if you're a business owner in any of the boroughs and you're paying top dollar for rent, you have somebody outside, you have vagrants outside sleeping in front of your property. Even worse, back in the days too, and they're still doing it now, you have the Nigerians and others who, they're selling the fake watches and the fake handbags on blankets in front of your store. You're paying good money for the rent for your store. You don't want this garbage out there. You don't want people selling fake handbags and watches outside, because it's taking away business from your store. And not to mention the fact that it looks awful. You're on Madison Avenue, you're on Fifth Avenue, you're down in Soho where this is happening. Then on top of it all, now you have all the homeless people congregating around the stores. And as a family, maybe from another city or another country coming in, and you want to shop, you feel intimidated because now you don't know if you're going to get jostled, shoved, pushed, robbed.
No. Well, the police department went away from the illegal vending enforcement. So now it's under the auspices of what used to be called the Department of Consumer Affairs. Now it's the Department of Consumer and Workers Protection. So they're really worrying about the people selling it, without a license. So you have areas like Coney Island where they'll sell their, wares, whether it be food or T-shirts, on the boardwalk, which is under the jurisdiction of the Parks Department, or in the street where it's under the Department of Workers Protection. So neither agency has enough people to do the enforcement. So the person used to sell illegally would see a cop and he'd walk away. Now they stand there. So they're standing in front of Nathan's. They're standing in front of Dino's Wonder Wheel. These businesses can't absorb the loss. They lost enough with COVID. So if there's no enforcement, like I said, places are going to just shut down. They'll just not be able to to afford the economic loss.
We're becoming a third world country.
And we'll get it back, Vinny. We'll get it back.
We have to get it back. And bring all these immigrants in from Mexico. And they're not all Mexicans and from South. They're from all over the world. They're coming, and these people, a lot of them are criminals. A lot of them, they call them getaways. They're not even stopped by the Border Patrol. So what they are criminals that have a criminal record. And now what are they going to do when they get into the United States? They're going to start the same thing they did before. They're criminals. They're going to rob. They're going to steal. They're going to rape. Whatever they have to do to survive. Think about it. You come here with no money. You probably pay a cartel, a coyote, to get into the country. Now they ship you to Chicago. They ship you to Wisconsin. I live in White Plains. They ship them to White Plains Airport. Now, where are they going to go? They're going to go to people that they know. Okay, that's what they do. If they're from Honduras, they're going to go to Hondurans. They're going to go to people that they feel comfortable with. But how are they going to survive if they don't get welfare? They don't get EBT. Now, they can't get anything because they're not registered. They're not even registered as when they come over. They avoid everything. And what's going to happen is you got to feed yourself. You're going to steal. Very simple.
Not all of them do, and not okay. I'm taking umbrage with that comment because I know a lot of these people who do come here illegally, and if they're outside the 7-Elevens on weekend mornings or early in the morning, okay, they're there as day laborers, and you have a lot of companies that'll hire them.
The statistics of them getting jobs is very. Matter of fact, in California, the Mexican immigrants used to pick the grapes and pick the produce. They don't do that anymore. It's very rare. I don't have the exact statistics, but they don't work locally like we expected them. That's why for many years they allowed them to come over even illegally because they're going to put them to work in picking lettuce or whatever. But now they're all over the place. And a lot of them are part of drug cartels. We have more fentanyl deaths this year than COVID. Right? The narcotics is killing the people. Now,
you also have people, Vinny. You also have people in our own country with meth labs in the middle of Middle America, who are creating meth in their own labs. It has nothing to do with illegals, Hondurans, Ecuadorians, or Mexicans. Those are real born and raised Americans here who have meth labs, and that's where the meth is coming from. It's not all coming through Mexico.
Listen, I have nothing against them coming here. I applaud them for trying to have a better life, but we can't afford to have it. Just too many people. We're the only country in the world that allows this. These other countries don't do. Matter of fact, Italy was taking a lot of refugees from Syria, from the Africa, from all over. They stopped it. They said, enough is enough. The same thing with the other European countries. They're saying, how many immigrants can we take? We have to. Matter of fact, we're paying for these people to be put in hotels. We're paying for them to come into on airplanes to Westchester, all over the country. When we have homeless people that we discussed before that have no place, we have veterans that don't have a place to go. We have so much poverty amongst Americans. We should take care of Americans first, and then help other people. It's not fair. It's not fair to American people. And I have nothing against. My family came here from Italy. They came here legitimately. They work hard. They did what they had to do. It's a lot of immigrants came here from other countries, especially Hispanic people. Hispanic people, by the way, are becoming more and more right wing, or should I say centrist, because they realize that that's what it's about. It's about working. Capitalism promotes good life.
Vinny, everyone in this country, unless you trace your roots back to the actual American Indians, everyone came from another part of the world through their ancestors into this country. Unless you find somebody who traces all the way back to the original settlers before they came here from Plymouth Rock, those would be the real so-called Americans. But everybody else came from someplace else.
I think a lot of the people that came here are hardworking people. I have a lot of friends from Mexico, South America, some legal, some not legal. But
right.
A lot of them are working in places that we all frequent. There's a lot of people coming from Mexico that are making the sauce in that Italian restaurant.
Yeah,
delivering your food. They're hustling.
They're hard
some of them
hustling.
are working 2 or 3 jobs, and we need people like that in this country. I think it's the people taking advantage of the system that are coming here illegally that maybe we have to focus on. But a lot of people coming across the border are taking the heat for things that other people are doing. So,
right.
But
and
I think as a country, I think if we stand together, we'll be fine. But back to what I said, if you don't vote, whether it's a local election or a federal election, it's not going to change.
Oh yeah, you're right about that. You got it. We have the problem we have in this country is we're too good. We're too good to other people, and I'm not saying that in a bad way. I'm saying it in a good way. But people, like you said, they take advantage. They take advantage of us, and it's not fair. Not fair. And these poor people that are coming over 1,000, 2,000 miles from Central America to come through Mexico to come here, they're risking their lives to come here. You know how many of them have died? How many have drowned in the Rio Grande River? How many have died from exposure on it? Because they have to go through a desert to get. There's a lot of desert between the United States and Mexico, and a lot of these people are dying on the way. What amazes me is how a person, I don't care what nationality, what country you're from, how can you bring a 5-year-old child, leave them alone in another country, and bring them in with somebody? I don't understand. They find children at the border, and you have to take them in because they're children. Well, how can a parent leave them there?
Okay, because what you don't understand is, Vinny, okay, people do things out of desperation. And if the situation is so grave.
I agree with that, that's for sure.
And if the situation, I'm a parent as well, I'm sure we all are. And as a parent, if I know that my situation is so dire back at home, I will risk my life to make it better for my child who will have to try and fend for himself or herself, then go back and know that more than likely I'm going to get raped and killed in front of my child, and my child to get killed too, because we couldn't make it across the border, because that's the problem that they have. And it's not only, we keep focusing on Mexicans and Latin America and Central American and South America. You have people who come to this country on visas and who are supposed to be here temporary. And once the visa is up and expires, they don't leave.
They don't leave.
So you have a lot of people here from other countries, okay, from Nigeria, from China, from Asia, pick a country. Okay, so there's a lot of other people here who are also illegal, and right away there is a crime in itself that they have not renewed their visa because they have no intention of going back. Look at the people who committed, all the other people who are committing crimes across the border, meaning in this country, and they're not just coming in from Mexico through California.
It just shows you what a great country we have. People want to be here, and they'll risk their life.
Right.
They'll do whatever they can. They'll commit a crime to stay here. And that's why the naysayers that are born and raised here, when they criticize this country, they should talk to those people and ask them, why do you want to be in the United States? They'll tell them where they're coming from. It's a lot worse. And
what's happening right now?
China and
Nigeria. I have a question for you. In the end of May 23rd, Title 42 will be abolished. And that will bring in even more undocumented aliens. Let's say that. Let's use that term.
Undocumented persons.
Let's be politically correct. How are we going to? How is this country going to handle? They can't handle what's coming in now, and they're overwhelmed. How are they going to handle even double? Because that rule was promulgated for people that have diseases or whatever, so they can be, before they come in here. But now we don't have we don't have a structure to help them. They're going to come in, and they're going to just be now the people that live on the border states, Arizona, New Mexico, Texas, and California. The people that live there are complaining that these people they come right over their land. They come in their house, and you can't blame them. They come over, they have nothing. They need to stay someplace. They'll find a garage. They'll stay in and people come out and they see a whole family in their garage. We don't have the infrastructure to help these people. So they put them in hotels for a while, spend tons of money on hotels. They put them in a makeshift community under the bridge in Texas, right? What part of Texas was it? Not the Dallas. McAllen, Texas. They had 15,000 people under a bridge with tents. And then they got rid of them. They put them on
in Florida.
You can't bring a lot of people in without having something to help them to come in. You just don't have them come.
We're going to bring in 100,000 people from the Ukraine, and that's going to start very soon. They're coming in now. We're going to let them in, and that's a humanitarian effort. But, it's hard to say no when you see these people, like Pam said, they'll do anything to be here.
But they're in
dire straits.
They're going to come here legally. They're going to come here on an asylum visa. They're going to be processed And
But Pam hit it. Once they get the visa, whether it's a student visa, work visa, I don't know the percentage, but it's not high that go back to their country. Once they're here, they're staying.
yeah,
Well,
yeah.
they can't go back. If you
ISIS
talk about
hands
the
is tied. They're
Ukraine,
not out enforcing. So.
But hopefully they'll find family and friends from you that are Ukrainian. We have Ukrainians in this country that have been here
of
for
course you
years.
do.
They'll help them out and get them a job or whatever. I'm sure a lot of these people are an industrious people. However, this is a different situation. They're in a war. Actually in a war. They're being killed. We have to help them somehow. Now I understand Poland can't take more anymore.
They've been landing in Israel. Israel has been helping them both on the ground and in air. And they've been flying them to Israel, and families have been taking them in. Total strangers have been taking them in. I'm in contact with my rabbi. I see what's going on. We got people going from New York. Rabbis from New York are going there with relief for these people.
Well,
so
listen,
we're trying to do. Every country is trying to do what they can.
Well, like you said, Vinny, with the infrastructure, with other things, you need more schools. You need more sanitation.
Right.
There's a lot of things involved in taking in an influx of people.
Sorry.
Who's that? I hear
background noise. Sorry, background noise came in.
I'm surprised we didn't have usually Chuck. We usually have a lot of people that they chime in and they put comments. You're such a good speaker that no one wants to.
They probably saw me and they turned it off. You really have a good show. It's informative. I appreciate you being on.
Thank
you. I'm very happy you're here, Chuck. Thank you. Yeah. Pardon? I heard my name. I don't want to sound like Will Smith and tell you, Vinny, keep my name out of your mouth.
Well, that kept a lot of things out of the news, but I was an unfortunate incident. But
well, every day, before I do a show, I try to do some research, and I have a list. I have a pile of articles. Every day, I get an article about somebody getting stabbed, pushed in front of a subway. 12-year-old boy, young black boy, nice kid, football player. He gets shot by accident, sitting in a car with some woman, his cousin, and he gets shot by accident. It's not the criminals killing each other, which most people would say, all right, you made a bed, lay in it, but they're killing innocent people. They can't shoot straight. They obviously, they can't practice. So when they get their 9mm, they just they just keep firing. And they just keep hitting each other. And then every time there's a dispute, someone's got a gun.
Well, now, I'm shocked. I'm shocked that neither one of these homicides have been solved yet. You would have thought there'd be more community outrage, and someone, for lack of a better term, would have dropped a dime on the shooter.
The neighborhood, the community knows who's doing it. They're afraid to say anything. These gangs are very powerful. These gangs, it's turf war for drugs. It's all about drugs. Why would you argue with another gang over turf? This is not the 50s, the Sharks and the Jets. This is not that bullshit. This is about money, drugs. All these gangs make their money on crime. And how do they make money? Selling drugs. Some of them are extortionists. Some of them are traffickers. But basically, it's drugs. So if you're selling drugs on my corner, I don't want that because this is my corner. You sell drugs on your corner. So what happens is they overlap and then they start shooting each other. And
a lot of that crime is economic crime. It's credit card fraud, identity theft. Some of it, you're not seeing too many heroin dealers in some of the areas where the violence is. A lot of it's weed. So we're saying marijuana is a harmless. It's
not harmless
crime.
It's a gateway drug.
Kill each other over that turf.
That's right. And they're talking about it's almost like real estate wars. Location.
And then you gotta have a previous marijuana conviction or a family member that had a marijuana conviction to open up a store to sell marijuana. It's
that
bizarro world.
that ridiculous or what? That is ridiculous.
Are you serious? So if I wanted to open up, Pammy's Weed tomorrow, I can't.
You won't get a license.
Yeah, you
have
got
to have been personally affected by it, or an immediate family member through an incarceration. So you could be a business person, affluent, have the money to open up the establishment. It's a no-go.
Wow, that's
it's going to be very interesting. But like I said, those commercials just started. We showed about how to use cannabis. And there's a website from the city. So you're going to go and it tells you, well, don't smoke near anyone else. Be considerate. It's bad enough now when it's out in the open. Like I said, the kids are going to be going to school, people going to church, and they're going to be smelling like a skunk when they're in kneeling down in the church.
And if you say something to somebody, they'll stab you. You're afraid they're going to stab you.
Chuck, if they're kneeling down in church, it's probably because they dropped their joints. They're not
Yeah.
praying.
Oh, God, forgive me. Yeah. Well, a mosque or a shul, I got to cover all my bases. But like I said, I just think, though, as far as those listening from the New York City area, at the NYPD, I was very proud to be a part of it for over 4 decades. I think the cops are doing a really good job now. Things will turn around, but for your listening and viewing audience, there's nothing nicer than just acknowledging a cop when you see him. That hello means the world. So I having done it, I did my whole career out in the street. When someone says, "Hey, have a nice day, officer," you're walking around strutting like a
you must have started
out there.
You must have started as a cop when you were like 21 years old, right?
I started at 21 in 79. So I went through the crack epidemic, the AIDS epidemic. So I saw the worst of times. The 80s were really tough. The 70s were bad. And, I always, like a few things I've been on and people have looked. The only homicide of the blackout of 77 was, on the corner where I live. And I saw a person murdered, a 17-year-old kid. The first time I saw someone get killed. And, I don't know if that's the reason I became a cop, but, you see things up close and personal, and it kind of changes your perspective on life. So that kid's life was snuffed out. That was a murder never solved, but it was the only one. And there was chaos back in 70. That blackout, you're old enough to remember, the city went crazy. People looted stores, but that was the only homicide victim. And I said, when people break store windows and loot, that's when you start to lose it. So I know you mentioned earlier, Pam, the smash and grab. They did one on Sunday up in the Bronx in a jewelry store. You saw it on TV. They went in there, 4 guys, smashed the windows, pulled like $50,000 worth of jewelry from the store windows while people were shopping inside. The store owner loses his money. He may or may not have insurance, but if you're the shopper in there or the worker, you're traumatized. And this is a Sunday afternoon, like at 2:00.
And people are in there with their families and kids, of course.
But I think there's going to be, we're going to see some tragedies out there. I know we had the homicides, but I think, I think street justice is going to wind up coming back a little.
Well, on that note, last week, a pizza owner and his employees saw a robbery. They jumped out. They tried to grab they both got stabbed.
I was a father and son.
They did something. Yeah. They did something. And I think what you said is going to happen more. More and more people are going to get involved. You're going to see something. And if a guy has a gun, you're not going to do anything. But if, for example, if I walk down the street and I see a man attacking a woman for no reason, knowing myself, I would probably jump in and help the woman. Most people, well, not most people. I got to say, a lot of people are.
A lot of people are afraid to get involved. It's always been that way. Look at that story from
many years ago. When I was a kid, we had a guy beating up his wife. We actually kicked the door in and beat the hell out of this guy. We were only 17 years old, but that was because we lived in a neighborhood that we took care of. Where I lived was deemed the safest neighborhood in the United States on Arthur Avenue, Belmont, Fordham Road. We never had any street crime at all. I mean, we had gangsters, we had extortion, we had numbers, we had gambling, but those were behind the doors. That wasn't out in the street. And people could walk around the street 2 o'clock in the morning, not a worry. But now things have changed. You don't have the
But no,
people.
it was not. But Vinny, it was not always like that. And I know Chuck and both of you should remember this, is the fact that many years ago, and this is before I was born, you had Kitty Genovese, who was murdered. And she's yelling and screaming, and people heard it, and they closed their windows because nobody wanted to get involved.
34 people saw that murder and didn't do anything. I was a kid at that time. I was so incensed. I was working in my grandfather had a candy store, a luncheonette, on 65th Street and 18th Avenue in Brooklyn. I used to go over there, and I was incensed. I said, "How could these people not?" I was so angry. I wanted to go to that neighborhood and knock on everybody's door and scream at everybody, because how could they not even call the police? Oh my God, call 911. Nothing. And this poor woman died.
Well, I wanted to jump in.
With cameras now and the video surveillance, a lot of stuff gets forwarded to the police department. But back to getting involved, some people own a house and they say, "Well, if I do something, I grab the guy, even though he committed a crime. I hurt him. He'll get away with it. Then he's suing me. Now I'm in the middle of this thing." So although it's very unfortunate, people are very apprehensive to get involved.
Yes.
Wow.
Look what happened that day that Asian woman was getting beat and pummeled by that African American man. And you had the one or two doormen that just closed the door, and they're standing there watching this woman getting pummeled right in front of the building as doormen, and he didn't do anything.
Some of them are told, it's not on our property. You don't get involved. So that security guard, as heart-wrenching as it was, he feels if he goes outside the premise and does something, he'll lose his job, he'll get sued, and he had to stand there and watch it. So I don't know if it was a lack of intestinal fortitude or self-economic preservation, but, I don't know what his reason was. But I know Vinny wouldn't have did that. Vinny would have went out there and instilled the street justice on him.
That's right. I believe in street justice. Unfortunately, that's all we got left. And unfortunately, we only got a minute left. Chuck, what makes you happy? What something positive?
What are you thankful for?
I'm thankful that I had a great career with the NYPD. So, when my last day, it's on YouTube, Chief Charles' retirement. I said to the mayor, he said, "Brother, you had a good run." I said, "With all due respect, Mr. Mayor, I had a great run." So I'm thankful for that and my family. So thank you very much. It was a great show.
I'm thankful for people like you keeping up our city as safe as possible. And considering what's going on, I have a lot of respect for NYPD. Now, I remember when I was a state investigator, I worked all over the state. So I worked with different police departments. I worked in Nassau, Suffolk, NYPD, up in Westchester. NYPD had the highest respect for. The guys are good. And, you got some bad guys too, but very small amount. Any organization, any job, any profession is going to have bad guys, but mostly good guys. And
without a doubt,
I'm thankful that I have you, and I have Pam, and I have Anthony. And, Pam, now it's your turn to say what you're thankful for.
I'm very thankful for my health. Over the last couple of months, we've had problems with that. I'm thankful for my health and for my family and my numero uno, my son. And I've always backed the blue. And anytime I ever see a police officer, I always tell him or her to be careful and to be safe and stay safe. And I want to thank you, Chuck. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you very much. Good luck with your show in May.
Thank you.
I'm going to be there.
You have to be there. Okay, so I have I'm doing dinner comedy at Il Marino of Dumont, New Jersey. You can go onto my Facebook page. You can go onto my Instagram page, which is the lawyer Pamela _Roth. You can find this posted at Il Molino of Dumont, New Jersey on their Instagram page. And dinner starts at 6:30. The show starts at 8 p.m. The headliner is Joey Vega, and Joey Vega opens also for Mark Anthony whenever he's touring around the country. So come out for delicious food and belly laughs, and I will tickle your elbow and tickle your funny bone.
Okay.
I won't tickle anything else because it's against the law.
Hey.
Thank you so much, Chuck.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you, Anthony. You did a great job. Vinny, it was a pleasure
Thank
to be
you,
here. See you
Anthony.
soon. Thank you, Pam. Bye-bye.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to seeing you. Take care.
Okay. Oh, my books
And we got
on Amazon. I got 4 books on Amazon: Mafia Double Cross, Investigations After Dark, my detective's cookbook, and my biography, so to speak, Rogue PI, about my high-profile cases and interesting stuff about me. Some good and some bad, mostly good. And I'm very proud of these books. And we're going to sell some more.
you got to come see my
Yeah, good
comedy.
book.
Come see my
Really,
stand-up comedy.
Thank the chief for coming on, and
Yes.
I'd like to have him on again. What do you think, Pam? We have him on
Absolutely. Absolutely. It
next
is an
week.
absolute pleasure.
Yeah, we're gonna have a guest that started the Latin Kings. Is a consultant for the federal government gang. I'll get more information, and he's going to have a lot to say on our show next week.
And upcoming, I'm looking to bring on, right, and upcoming shows, I'm looking to bring on a community speaker from the Sikh community out in Queens. That's Sikh, S-I-K-H, the gentleman who wear the turban. Because there's
And
been an uptick in crime in their neighborhoods as well.
Do you know the Sikhs were the warriors of the Indian people? They were the warriors. They were the ones that they were the tough guys. They were the ones that were in the army, and they were the ones that really had coyones.
Well, everybody, thank you so much to all our viewers and listeners. We appreciate it. Keep supporting our program, Law and Disorder, because we're growing because of all of your support. So thank you. Follow us on Instagram, Parco Media, Law and Disorder, hosted by Vinnie Parco and Pamela Roth. And you can find us at lawanddisorder.podcast. See y'all next week. Bye.
Good night, everybody.